Hey there, community bankers. I am here with our Chief Lending Officer, Brandon Feltner, and the renowned Jack Hubbard. How are you guys doing today?
Doing great.
Yeah, Madison, just terrific. Thanks so much for having me on. This is a real privilege.
Thank you for coming on, Jack. I can't tell you how excited I am to have someone of your caliber on the podcast. So it's unlikely anyone listening has not heard of you or is not familiar with your work, but just in case they're not, tell us a little bit about yourself and your background and some of your experience.
Sure. Well, that's great. Yeah, I've been very fortunate. I've been in and around banking for 52 years. I think, like a lot of people, I'm an accidental banker. Ever since I was six, I wanted to be the play-by-play voice of the Chicago Cubs on the radio, and that really never panned out. So, but I've had a great run in banking. I've trained about 80,000 bankers. Had a chance to be on the faculty at 13 banking schools, and I'm a cancer survivor, which is probably the best blessing, other than my wife and my children, my grandchildren. I've written a best-selling book on prospecting that has generated over $1 billion in new business. The companies that I represent, I'm chairman of a company called St. Meyer and Hubbard, and for 25 years we've been doing sales training and coaching for banking. And then for 2 years I've been working with my partner Bryn Tillman at the Modern Banker, and we're going to talk about LinkedIn today, and that's what we do with the Modern Banker. And I guess finally, I've been very privileged over the past 13 years to be on the board of a community bank up in the Chicago area. So it's been a great run, and I get to my desk every day, and I'm just loving it.
Doing great. Doing great. Well, yes, I can definitely speak to Mr. Hubbard's credibility. I've actually had him as one of my professors at GSB, Wisconsin, and was thrilled to be one of his students and listen in on all of the neat insights that he has, not only for LinkedIn, but other relationship building tools outside of LinkedIn, and just his overall professionalism. Of course, my name's Brandon Feltner. I'm the Chief Lending Officer here, and I've been in banking roughly 12 years, 7 years of that in community banking, and then switching over into correspondent banking the past 5 years. And it's just been a remarkable journey. It's been a lot of fun. You go from helping one community bank and one community to helping the whole state, and then the contiguous states around Kentucky that's in our footprint. And it's just an honor to serve community banks, to allow them to provide for their communities and be a part of that. So every day I get the opportunity to help a lot of different community banks, and it's an honor and a privilege. So excited to be here and just to discuss this further with our audience.
Awesome. Thank you both so much. I feel like I should apologize to anyone who has to introduce themselves after Jack. That's never going to be fair, but thank you both for being on. As Jack alluded to, we're going to talk about LinkedIn as a business development and prospecting tool for banks and for lenders. So, Jack, you've done a lot of work on this and a lot of writing on this. What, in your view, makes LinkedIn an effective business development tool for business bankers?
Sure. And I would just say, to start out, what Brandon does, the work you all do for community banking is so vital. We need community banks in this country. And certainly more and more are being acquired, and they're merging, and they're getting a little bigger. And it is such an important thing that you do. So congratulations on that. Yeah, I got into LinkedIn. It started actually in May of 2003, and I jumped on the bandwagon in 2005, and I thought, this is just a great tool. And of course, it started out as a recruiting tool. And unfortunately, I think a lot of bank CEOs still believe that that's true. And a lot of them don't want their bankers to be on LinkedIn at the office, which is one hand tied behind your back. But you're right, Madison. It is a great business development tool. Here's some statistics that are just fascinating to me. 1.07 billion people on LinkedIn, and it has grown exponentially. Somebody gets on LinkedIn every 2 seconds. Here's some other data that's really important. 63% of executives who buy things use LinkedIn to research potential purchases, both from individuals and from companies. And about 80% of the Fortune 500 execs are on LinkedIn. But here's the best statistic that I can kind of come up with. And this is the LinkedIn statistic. 78% of sellers use LinkedIn actually outperform those who don't. And I think there's a lot of myths about LinkedIn. It's not Facebook for business. Although in some ways it's sort of become that. It's not that recruiting tool, and it's not the new cold calling tool. LinkedIn is a relationship tool. And I think one of the mistakes bankers make, and we're going to talk about a little more about this later, is that they use it as the new cold calling tool. And instead of trying to add value and build trust, they're doing something a little bit different. So it is a great tool. I'm on a couple hours a day. That I'm very active on LinkedIn. And unfortunately, Madison, one of the real problems in banking is the average great salesperson is on 2 hours a day on LinkedIn. The average banker is on 17 minutes a month. You can't possibly use this tool as a business development tool unless you're on.
I would agree with that. Working in community banking, I really utilized, I felt like LinkedIn a lot more at times than I get to now. Obviously covering a larger territory, dealing with more community banks, it's just, I'm busier than I was before, but I do see the need to devote the time to that daily as a routine, just to keep, the relationships cultivating and new opportunities presenting themselves. It's almost like growing a garden. You got to water it to keep the crops coming, and to keep nurturing those relationships, you have to put in the daily effort, consistently, through a routine, like you've mentioned. So I definitely see the value in that.
Yeah, I'm down here with a client in Florida, and one of the things that I'm going to teach them over the next couple of days is how to use Sales Navigator. And when you talk about prospecting and business development, Brandon, LinkedIn Sales Navigator tool is, in my mind, the best prospecting tool ever. It really adds a lot of bells and whistles to your life. Now, it's expensive; it's not cheap. But here's what I always tell people: if you invest $1,000 in yourself, and you're able to generate X thousand dollars more, how much worth it is that for you? Here's the thing, though. If you've got a 16-year-old and you're teaching them how to drive, and you in the garage have a 1995 Buick and a 2025 Maserati, $300,000 car, which one are you going to teach your 16-year-old to drive on? Stupid question.
Right.
But what happens, Brandon, is too often we jump over LinkedIn and go right to Sales Navigator without really learning how to use LinkedIn from a blocking and tackling perspective. And that 1995 Buick, that LinkedIn product is still really good. Now, Microsoft bought LinkedIn a few years ago for $27 billion. And they are taking more and more things away from the free service. You could have free, you could have premium, and you can have Sales Navigator. But there are still a lot of things you can do on the free service.
Yeah. Yeah, I've actually just used the free version. I haven't enrolled in the Sales Navigator. I've had the premium before at different times for a trial period, but that's something I need to look into to really be able to utilize the full platform, is at least the premium, and then perhaps even the Sales Navigator, because I think it restricts you on certain things that you're able to do. And like you said, though, you can't just upgrade that without really understanding the full functionality, because you want to make sure that you're using all the components of it correctly and effectively. So yeah, it's something I need to do as well. And hopefully a lot of our listeners don't need to do, but perhaps if they're hearing about it, they can take the journey with me and others to do so.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's some really good insight that you both have given. As you're talking, I can kind of hear what a common objection might be to really getting into LinkedIn. And the main one that I'm thinking of would come from, bankers that have been in their communities for years and years. And I could hear them saying something like, well, I don't need LinkedIn. I already have a lot of relationships. Maybe they've been there for decades and they have a giant Rolodex full of business clients and business prospects. So how do you respond to objections like that?
I hear this all the time. And one of the things, if you look at a bank website, one of the words you're going to see on that website all over the place is the word relationship. We're a relationship bank. Well, great. When I ask people at banking schools or speeches or what have you, I say, how do you add value to your relationships? And I get a lot of answers like, well, I give them my personal phone number, and we sell them a lot of products so we can really help them. That's not what customers are really looking for. So what I would say in answer to your question, great question, is how can you be a great partner? How can you have great relationships without adding value and providing insights? There was a book written a number of years ago called Insight Selling. John Doerr and a couple other folks wrote the book. And one of the things they found in doing their research is what buyers want from their salespeople, bankers, is they want a banker to leave more than they take on every call. They want to make sure that as a business owner who banks with a particular organization, that they want to make sure that their banker is giving them insights and ideas. Tariffs is a really good thing right now. What are banks doing to help their clients in a relationship bank through this whole tariff thing that we're going through right now? That's really, really important. And for those who have a lot of relationships, LinkedIn is the perfect channel to be able to provide those insights, provide those value things. If you're connected with your clients on LinkedIn, as you should be, you can message them and you can provide anything you want. You can share videos. I've got bankers who share podcasts. So they might send out a link to a podcast to a manufacturing company and say, you're a great client of ours. I heard this podcast about robotics in manufacturing, or AI, which is the topic du jour. I thought you might find that of interest. That's what you really want. Too often what happens is you date somebody and then you get married. Then what do? Sit on the couch? No, you nurture that relationship. So that's a really important thing. So sharing content, sharing comments, also introducing buyers and sellers. If you've got a relationship with a good company and you find somebody else in your marketplace that is selling something that your buyer might need, putting those people together on LinkedIn could be a really, really important thing. Here's two other things, real practical things that you can do. There's a tool on LinkedIn called Catch Up. So I have a lot of connections. I have about 7,000 connections. So every day going into my Catch Up, I can see who's changed jobs, who's been promoted, who has a birthday, who has a business anniversary, and then I can do something with that. So your question is so vital around relationships. Two other things on this, Madison, that comes to mind. Number one, and we do this at our bank. Our bankers upload their connections quarterly. Then you can put them on an Excel spreadsheet. And when you have a webinar or a seminar, you can sort those by title. So let's say you want to invite CFOs. You can sort your CFOs by title. And then you can go right over to the little left of the Excel spreadsheet, click on the link, and it will take you right to the profile of the buyer, the business owner, your relationship. And then you can invite them to the webinar or seminar. One more thing. Maybe you don't want a lot of new business, but you do want the right new business. So how many new relationships do you want in a year? Let's say it's 3. LinkedIn is the door opener. LinkedIn won't close business, but it does open business. And one final thing, what about referral sources? What are you doing to add value to your referral sources? You've got people who are referring you business, could be CPAs or attorneys or whomever it might be. Are you connected with them on LinkedIn? Are you providing value through LinkedIn to them? Your question is phenomenal because LinkedIn is the perfect tool to build relationships. And I'm sure, Brandon, you've probably seen that in your work as well.
Absolutely. I've leveraged LinkedIn a lot over the years to uh, create new opportunities, but also just to keep up with current clients and really just telling the story of what I'm doing in my role at the bank and being able to share that with my network. And also too, I have a lot of folks that will reach out just through that content that I publish. But then, I think something too that's going on a lot is some folks are trying to take the easy way with LinkedIn and basically just add you and not do any due diligence or review of like who you are and what you do. Just trying to just a quick message just to sell you something without taking the time to understand what Brandon does at the Bankers Bank, or I'm sure you perhaps get messages like that sometimes too. It's just disappointing to see that they're not taking the time to really just understand. They're just trying to do a mass message across, and folks can see that. I think that's where you have to really know your audience and study that what you're wanting to do with and what value you're wanting to provide to your network. So.
Absolutely. And Brandon, to your point, if I had a nickel for every, unsolicited, scripted mass LinkedIn message I got, I'd probably be on a beach somewhere and not here hosting this podcast. But, here we are. It's just constant. And I think, that's easier than doing some of the due diligence that, Jack is talking about. So I think you may have answered the next question, or at least, laid the groundwork to answer the next question over the previous two. But let's say, I'm a business banker or a business lender, and I'm like, okay, I'm sold. I need to be, investing in and utilizing LinkedIn, but, where do I start and how do I go about building my own pipeline?
Yeah. So a couple of things there, and it's a great question. Connections to conversations. The goal on LinkedIn, whether you are using it for a value tool or an insight tool or an education tool or a business development tool, the goal is not to collect baseball cards. And that's Brandon's comment before. It's not just about how many you have, it's what you do with what you have. So the goal here has got to be connect with the right people and then at the right time, have a conversation. The second thing I would say from a pipeline perspective is your profile is so important. It's a resource, not a resume. It's got to be up to date. Couple of examples: a current photo, a background. That's so important. A unique headline. We need to stop putting headlines in vice president commercial lender. You know how many commercial lenders there are in America? 1.3 million commercial lenders. We need to do something very unique with our headline so that it's eye-catching. Get as many connections as you possibly can, because that's the gateway to your first degree connections as well as your second degree connections. A lot of people don't know they can connect with up to 100 people a week. And if you do a personalized message, you are 82% likely to have that person actually accept your connections. The third thing is post and share, and consistency is the key. That if I could leave everybody with one word on LinkedIn, it's consistency. If you have a dog, you understand consistency. Your dog has a routine. They sit at the door at a certain time to go out. They sit at the door to eat. They bring the leash to you at a certain time of day because they want to go for a walk. We need to get in that mindset of a level of consistency that's really, really important. And when you do post, provide a lot of value. Don't put anything about the bank or your products or any of that. You're going to get blackballed. People are going to stop watching you. When the time is right, if you add value and you provide insights and you pick up the phone for that appointment, they'll be there. Remember, LinkedIn doesn't close business, it opens opportunities.
Yeah, and I would agree with that too. It's like you said, it's the start of opening the conversation, but then you have to be able to take it from there and provide the value that whomever you're speaking with is looking for, and just start that relationship.
Yeah. It's interesting. I've got a banker. This is a real practical thing. I've got a banker who every Saturday does something that I taught her called 75 Saturday CEO. That's the title of this 75 Saturday CEO. Here's what she does. She knows that between 7 and 8 a.m. local time, 68% of CEOs are on LinkedIn and also checking their emails from the week. What she will do is to find 5 CEOs that she'd like to communicate with, find an article, a white paper, a link to a podcast, something like that. And on Saturday, she will send that either via a message on LinkedIn or via an email. Those are the kind of things that people remember. Look, we live in a sea of sameness, and community banking, like any other industry, can be viewed as a commodity. What we've got to do is we've got to stand out. We've got to be a resource manager, and LinkedIn gives you every opportunity to be able to do that.
Yeah, I like what you said there, resource manager, and it's by sharing that authentic content that relates to whom you're sending it to, because they know that why you're sending it to them because it resonates with them. And I think you're going to get a better response rather than just sending that to the masses like a lot of folks do sometimes, just hoping it sticks, right? It's just knowing your audience and providing content and value to them. And I think that just strengthens the relationship and the partnership because they know the assignment for them and kind of what they're looking to do, and you're helping bridge that gap by helping connect the dots, and they see you as that value add or extension of their business, and you've got their best interest at heart. So I totally agree with that and like that approach.
Yeah, and I think you're right. And I've always said that great is the enemy of good. Too often what happens is bankers get on LinkedIn and they get frozen. They just don't know what to do. First of all, you can't break it. Secondly, if you're good enough at it, you're probably better than 90% of the bankers who don't share, who don't connect, et cetera, et cetera. Don't get paralyzed by the fact that you aren't the best ever at LinkedIn. Get started and practice at it. And once you start doing it, you'll start to see some results.
Man, there's just so much great advice packed into, the last little bit of this conversation. And I've heard you name, a few errors that you see kind of commonly, from not updating your profile to, kind of mass messaging to even just paralysis. Are there other common errors that you see bankers making on LinkedIn, and what should they do instead?
Yeah, think of this. Think of dwell time. The goal for you is to have someone at 3:17 in the morning, a business owner, sits up straight in bed and they're worried about their clients, they're worried about their people, they're worried about the economy, they're worried about a lot of things. And they're not happy with their bank. And they get on LinkedIn and they're looking for bankers in Lexington or Indianapolis or whatever. And they hit your profile. You don't have a picture, you don't have a background, you don't have an about section. You're gone. It's over. So the goal here is to get people to dwell on your profile. So that's number one. Another mistake, connect and pitch. Connect and pitch is a bait and switch. Always remember that. If I connect with someone, I want to thank them right away and I want to provide something of value. The third thing is connect and forget. Too often, what happens is, and bankers don't even know this a lot of times, you should be uploading your connections quarterly, as I mentioned. And too often, what happens is, like Brandon alluded to before, baseball cards. I collect them, put them in the drawer. That's it. I connect and forget. We need to provide value. Somebody connected with you for a reason, and we need to provide them value when they do. The next thing is random acts of social. I'm not consistent. I'm on every once in a while, and I got a couple of minutes. I'll get on LinkedIn. In fact, a lot of people don't even remember their password on LinkedIn, which is really sad. Another one is post and ghost. I post something on LinkedIn and then forget. Here's what bankers need to know: when you post something, you have an hour, 60 minutes, to have that post get engagement. If there's enough engagement, the LinkedIn algorithm will say, this post has some value, and they will keep it up on people's notifications and in their feed. If not, it's gone. So if you post and ghost, in other words, if you don't watch who's commented, watch who makes different likes or celebrates or whatever the case might be, and if you don't respond to that, your post is absolutely going nowhere. Another one is sharing topics that you like, not what they like. So instead of pushing things about the bank, push something about HR or marketing or strategic planning. Couple more. Remember this phrase: lazy likes lack luster. I see too many bankers, all they do is just click like. That's so easy to do. Why not go into the comments section? 10 words, has to be 10 words. Mention the author. Say, hey, at Brandon, I love your post about, I'm curious how you found your bank clients are dealing with tariffs and how they're informing their clients. So I'm going to try to engage, and I'm going to try to get you to engage back with me. When we do that, LinkedIn will say, oh, this is a pretty viable post. The last thing I'll mention is lack of coaching. In the banks where I've done a lot of LinkedIn training, those senior executives who are engaged and modeling the way are the ones who actually have their bankers doing a lot of work on LinkedIn, because if the executive is there and they have time to do it, I guess I'd better find the time as well. So a lot of mistakes bankers make, but a lot of opportunities too.
Yeah, I would agree with that too. I think a lot of times, and I've even been guilty of this myself, is you meet someone, you connect with them, and it's almost like a book. You put it on the shelf, but you don't take it back off to use that. So when you add somebody, I think the way is just continue to stay engaged and provide value to them through based on the content that they share, commenting on that, not just hitting the quick and easy like, 'cause that really doesn't differentiate you from anyone else that's liked it. So, and providing that real genuine feedback to them and others. That's how you continue to grow your network, and others being able to see you provide value and help.
Yeah, absolutely. And you kind of alluded to, it sounds like, you're kind of gearing up to becoming some sort of thought leader in
Mhm.
your space, be it your geographic space, business banking space, what have you. What is the importance of business bankers becoming thought leaders in their space in terms of building a pipeline? Do you think that that always translates to viable leads?
Yeah, people will buy when the time is right. I'm very big believer in serendipity. How did you and Brandon meet? How did I meet my wife? How did you meet your significant others? It's all about serendipity. But here's the thing: if you don't do anything, you're not going to get anywhere. So what you have to do is just to decide and make a commitment to yourself that you are going to actually get out and do things. Now, you don't have to be publishing content all the time to be able to do that. And we'll talk about that going forward as well. You don't have to be out there posting content because we're busy. We're busy people. Here's a secret. One way I have hopefully become a thought leader is on Sunday night. And by the way, Madison, I'm just a practical old banker that tries to use the tools in a practical kind of way. So here's a practical way. When you post content, there's something, if you click on it, there's a little clock down in the lower right-hand corner. That is the scheduler. So here's what I do. I'm busy too. Every Sunday evening, I'm lucky. I'm an empty nester. My wife and I have been married a long, long time. And so she's good. I'll go up to your office and whatever you're going to do. So I go up, and on Sunday night, I find 4 posts that I'd like to post on LinkedIn. A couple of them could be mine. I do a lot of writing, or I could be following others, like a Chris Nichols, who is just phenomenal. And I find their content. I go in and I schedule it. So on Sunday night, I'll schedule 4 posts. Now all I have to do is, let's say it's Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. I schedule them, and all I have to do is watch the commentary, and you'll be notified if somebody comments on your post. I do something kind of fun. It's called Stones Saturday. I really believe the Rolling Stones were the best rock and roll band ever. And so I have something called Stones Saturday. So what I do, using ChatGPT goes out and finds a song and a lyric. It sends it to me every day. I look at the lyric and I convert the lyric in the song over to a sales content. So this coming Saturday, I'm going to do something, you can't always get what you want. And I'm going to talk about travel and how to get what you want when you travel. That's already scheduled. So I don't have to worry about doing that. So you become a thought leader because you have substance, and because people look at you and say, here's somebody I need to be talking with. And part of that is all the things we've been discussing before, the profile and the content and all that stuff.
I really love that. As speaking as a marketer, the schedule button is an absolute lifesaver. Yes, but the Rolling Stones angle, that's so just creative, and obviously you're a great writer, but not all business bankers are going to necessarily have that talent, or even that time to be creating their own content and writing their own articles and things like that. And how can they best share their insights? What sources can they go to? Or, I mean, do you not buy that? Do you think everyone does have that creativity if they dig hard enough?
No, I don't think everybody does. I don't. I think AI helps, but you got to be real careful with AI because people can start to pick that up. So I think AI can be a really good partner. I agree. Not everybody can be a writer, but everybody can be a thought leader. And here's how you do it. This is very practical. It's the 10-to-1 ratio. Here's how this works. If you post something, go out before you post. And by the way, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, good days to post. Early in the morning, late in the afternoon. And again, that consistency. I'm going to post something at 8:09 a.m. with the scheduler. Before 8:09, I go out and I comment on 5 people's posts. I have thoughtful comments. I mention and tag them. And now I'm all set. Now my post goes up. After my post goes up, I'm going to comment on 5 other people's posts. When you do that, LinkedIn will amplify your own post better than you could have ever imagined. That's a real simple thing to do. Here's another thing, and you mentioned your marketing. I think we are failing in banking when we aren't working with our marketing departments to create evergreen content. Those kinds of things that if I need something, marketing can push it to me, and it's generic content, but it could be about strategic planning or marketing or sales or whatever the case might be. There's a direct correlation between the amount of time you spend in posting and commenting and those connections and the conversations that you have. It's a flywheel. It's all about the flywheel. Now, when you talk about people to follow, I can give your listeners 3 people that I think are phenomenal. My partner, Bryn Tillman, has about 70,000 followers. She posts all the time, and her content is fantastic. Richard Vanderbloom puts out a LinkedIn algorithm report every year. And he's over in Spain, and he's absolutely phenomenal. For community bankers, and Brandon mentioned GSB, my friend Eric Cook is awesome, and he publishes a ton of comments. He has Mondays with Eric, which is great video stuff. It's all really, really good stuff. When I talk about video too, here's one other thing you need to know. Video is very, very popular. When bankers use video, their posts go explode. Do a walk and talk. Take your phone and do a walk and talk. Or what if you were at a Chamber of Commerce dinner and you had a speaker, and you went up to the speaker afterwards and you said, what you said was phenomenal. Would you mind if I did a little recording with and interviewed you for LinkedIn? What's the speaker going to say? Well, of course, that would be great. And now you can do that. Do a little walk and talk. I've got a banker out in California. His name is Keith Czerwinski, and he does stuff on the economy, and he does walk and talks. He talks about a lot of different things that are valuable to the companies that he's calling on. So yeah, you don't have to be a thought leader, or you don't have to be a content creator, let's put it that way, to be successful on LinkedIn. Just have to have your ear to the ground a little bit.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think it's being creative and telling a story that is going to resonate with the audience that you're trying to capture, and providing value and putting content out there, just providing meaningful connections, and then continuing to pour into those is what's going to allow you to be successful utilizing LinkedIn, and amongst everything else you've said. But at the core, I think it's really simple. It's just putting in the work to grow the relationships.
For sure. I've come to the conclusion that, all good marketing is storytelling. I think all good thought leadership is storytelling as well. So Jack, thank you so much for the just copious amounts of insights that you've given over the course of this podcast. Before we let you go, where can our listeners find more content from you? I know that's a long list, but just give us a few places they can look.
Yeah, just a couple of things. Certainly they can follow me on LinkedIn, connect with me. That's great. Every Wednesday, I do at noon Eastern time, I do something called Jack Grants with Modern Bankers. And every Wednesday I have a guest. Could be a best-selling author, banker, whatever the case might be. And then Thursday, it's Jack Grants with Bryn, where Bryn Tillman and I talk about a specific LinkedIn skill that people can look at. And that's on Thursdays at noon Eastern time. You know what, Madison, Brandon, thank you so much for having me. People look at me and they go, geez, he's kind of old to be looking at LinkedIn. And, I'm 75, and I found LinkedIn when I was in my 60s. And I'll tell you what, it's not about age, it's about consistency. And when you do that, you'll be really successful on LinkedIn.
Yeah. I think that's what's so special about you. You mentioned your age, but you're thriving. You're still trying to help others, and that's what it's all about: is helping one another and making this world a better place. And you're leveraging your skill sets and talents to help others, and that's just incredible. So thank you for all you do for us, community banking, and just all the listeners as a whole. So you're great. Appreciate you.
Absolutely. Seconded. Jack, thank you so much for joining us. And Brandon, thank you for chiming in as well. I think our listeners are going to get a lot out of this podcast.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you for listening to the Correspondent podcast. We hope that you've learned something valuable to take back to your community bank. If you're listening on Spotify, leave us a rating and review. If you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe to our channel for more updates. See you next time, community bankers.